you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way, close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Cleveland wins the tip. They move it right to left, and Garland brings it into the forecourt against Neesmith. He lost the ball over on the far sideline. Siakam picks it up, and Halliburton to the other end with a right-hand slam. Halliburton with it, perimeter right, on top to Turner. Left of the lane, Siakam. Backing in, leaning in on Strus. Finishing with the left hand. Kenny Atkinson has seen enough. The Pacers on a 7-point run are up by 7. 9:27 to go in the quarter. Neesmith way out on the left edge. Centers it to Turner, who bounces once and gives it to Halliburton. Back to Neesmith, attacking. Kicks it to the top, and Turner hits a three. He's got a dozen. The Pacers lead by 31 points. Halliburton for three. He made the foul shot and then hit a three from way up top. It's 72-37. Do not adjust your dial. Halliburton drives, pitches it to the perimeter. Nembhard sends it around to the other side of the floor. Turner has it. 7 seconds to shoot. Neesmith attacking. He got to the baseline. Turner with it. 3 to shoot. 2 to shoot. Oh my goodness! What is happening here? A three from the left side. It's 75-37. Into the forecourt, Neesmith. Turner is feeling it, and why not? Why not? Why not? A three from 2 miles away, out on the left side. This cannot possibly be happening.
It is absolutely insane what's going on in this building right now.
A 41-point lead. Pacers have 4 seconds to score one more time. Here comes Neesmith. He'll get it off from the wing, and of course he hit it. Of course he hit it as the bench empties.
Sweet baby.
Wow. Through 2. It's the Indiana Pacers 80. The Cleveland Cavaliers 39. Halliburton with it, leaves it for the trailing Turner. He passed up the three and got it into the corner where Neesmith hit the three.
He definitely had an opportunity at the top of the key. Neesmith alone in the far side corner. He knocks it down.
Nembhard with it, kicks to the far corner. McConnell with consecutive threes, and this time he hits.
I like the fact that he stepped into that second one with the same amount of confidence, able to knock that one down.
Tonight's final score, the Indiana Pacers 129, the Cleveland Cavaliers 109.
We just came out with good energy. I thought last game they set the tone from a physicality standpoint. That's been a talking point from them all series, and they set the tone. And today we came out, set the tone from the jump, and really just rode that wave.
When we go like that, we're a tough team to beat, but it all comes with our ball movement. Don't forget how many assists we had, but that's our solid play. When we're in the ball's humming and, everybody gets to touch the ball and everybody feels good.
We haven't done anything yet. We're a pretty significant underdog in every game we've played in this series, and that will continue till the end. And we're going to keep approaching this like we have everything to prove.
All right, Rick Carlisle, Miles Turner, Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill, Pacers Radio Network is heard right here on The Fan. And game number 4, and now a stranglehold at 3-1 on the Eastern Conference semifinals with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Your Pacers, a 129-109 winner last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Hey, welcome to the show, by the way. I'm going to start right here. A couple of things stand out as to what you now expect from this team and from this organization. And it all happened last night. This is now what you expect. You expect after Friday night the most professional of responses. I want to give credit where credit is due on this, and this is just right off the top of my head. But I think it was Mark Monteith, the former Indianapolis Star Pacer beat writer, that maybe 2 weeks ago in the Milwaukee series. After that Friday night debacle, remember? Game 3? Where, I think it was game 3, whatever. He had said when they have double-digit losses, I think until that point of the season, they were 8-0 on the games coming off of a double-digit loss or a bad loss, an embarrassing loss. And believe me, Friday night, for a variety of reasons, it was absolutely awful. And those of you, much like me, if you were there, you witnessed that. It was horribly awful. But the one thing that they do, they professionally respond. That is a characteristic of this team, and that's what they did last night. They responded in the fashion in which now we're used to. Hey, listen, in the NBA postseason or NBA games in general, you get used to a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can expect happen. I'll give you a great example. You expected the Cavaliers on Friday night to have a response. They get their dudes back. They come out. They're physical. Their coach is whining about the physicality put forth by the Pacers, and they respond in that fashion. And then you expected the Pacers, and again, that professional response that you witnessed last night at the Fieldhouse. And by the way, too, to answer the question that Miles kind of asked there, 37 assists for the Pacers in that game. The other thing that you have now come to expect about this team is what they do offensively helps predetermine just how stinking good they can be defensively. And there is really no other example that you need to look at other than the second quarter. And listen, there's nobody out there like me. I dig a good heat check, and I especially dig a good heat check when the heat check goes in. You know, oftentimes the heat check doesn't go in. Yeah, he's heat checking. Last night, the Pacers' heat checks went in. You rarely, if ever, see that. 53% from the floor, 43% from distance. And really, can you imagine the numbers if you just took them when basically the back half of the bench was playing for the better part of the entirety of the fourth quarter, if not a lot of the third quarter as well? I mean, this game was over. But 42 in the second quarter is incredible. But to coincide that with 16 points allowed defensively, that's Pacer basketball. Maybe not to that level. I mean, that is, Mark Boyle was, and rightly so, incredibly excited about the call to end the half because you rarely see anything like that. But what is not a rarity is what you see is this Pacer team being successful in having their defense escalate and play better because of the way that their offense is humming. Because the way that their offense is performing. They play 94 feet. And when they press up on you, I'm going to give you a couple of great quotes, and I'll cut out the MFers. But I'm going to give you a couple of great quotes from somebody where you're going to say you dislike a great deal. Patrick Beverley in a podcast, and I'd never seen it before. I just saw kind of the back and forth dialogue and the quotes on social media. Patrick Beverley absolutely hits this thing on the head with the Pacers. I'll get to his words about this Pacer team. He has a lot of reason not to like him. After last year, we know how he feels about the fans here. But he absolutely hit it on the head about this team. Now, we also know this team, when you feel that it is at its most comfortable, is arguably most susceptible to getting hit upside the head, to not looking good. And there are going to be a lot of reasons. Listen, you guys can all buy Donovan Mitchell, and I know that he was limping around. He didn't play in the second half. For anybody that had any sort of injury, if you had a hangnail, there was zero reason for anybody in a Cleveland uniform to play in the second half. Anybody of value, why? because there was no chance. That game was over in the second quarter. And I know Pacer fans, you get worried, and everybody was worried. You keep your foot on the gas. It was over in the second quarter. But you have to play the second half. But anybody of significance that has a hangnail or a paper cut, then you hold them out. I'm not suggesting that he doesn't have something going on there because it's, according to Shams, a re-aggravation of an ankle injury. However, to suggest he's not going to come out there and not going to go at it as hard as he possibly can because you're looking at vacation, if you don't coming up tomorrow night in Cleveland, you have to be prepared for anything. And this is how I would go about it if I were the Pacers. And believe me, they've forgotten more about basketball than I know. But we witnessed last night what I think we all would argue as their best game. We're still waiting on best games from a couple of dudes from this Pacer team. But I happen to think their best game of the season, their best game, certainly the postseason, was game number 1 in Cleveland. And that was over a week ago Sunday night. Everything was fresh and new, and the odds were there, and everybody bought into the Cavaliers. This was before you had the ankle injury to Mobley, before you had the thumb injury to DeAndre Hunter. And we'll get to that coming up in a minute. You know, Garland was still on the shelf. But let's face it, with whatever he has, that toe injury, my man can't stay in front of James over there right now. And you're glad that he's out there and they're at full strength because you don't want the excuses. Nobody wants the excuses. But again, at the end of it all, you've got to play who's out there on the floor. You can't help it if these dudes can't keep up the pace with you. So you think that it's just a coincidence that for the past 2 years now, and especially it's magnified in the postseason, that you get these significant players in bulk that go down with injuries? Do you think that's a coincidence? You think the Pacers they're not dirty. They play to a different level. Now, when they sacrifice that, it's a game like Friday night. When they don't come out as focused, I thought that after the whole Mather and Hunter thing, that team was already focused as hell, and you kind of just knew right there. Like a friend of mine, Greg, had sent me a text while I was at the game and said, I think Hunter just kind of kicked the hornet's nest. And that may have happened anyway, the whole Cavalanche, but for the Pacers, the Pace-alanche, that may have taken place anyway. But that was a moment where Hunter kept going out, and he was trying to show himself and trying to flex on everybody in the field house after Matherin got kicked out and that whole situation. And that didn't work for him offensively, and the Pacers just went absolutely ape-you-know-what offensively in the remainder of the half. 42-16 is absolutely absurd, and especially at this level. When we're talking about a Cleveland team that was the second best in the NBA and the best in the Eastern Conference, and they had their dudes out there. And I know that the re-aggravation, hell, I don't even know when the re-aggravation happened for Mitchell. Did it happen when he was warming up for the second half? I think the re-aggravation happened whenever they're down like 40. That's what I thought. And by the way, too, if the Cavaliers had not shot 40 free throws, they'd have been down by 70. That doesn't happen in the NBA. That is a different level of domination than anybody has ever seen. Game was over. So again, anybody that had any injury whatsoever, it is time to bail. It's not necessary to be out there. So I'd fully expect tomorrow night Mitchell to be out there, and he is still as good as anybody guard-wise. We'll see if his perimeter shot goes down, because when he's got that going, then he's multifaceted, and that's trouble. But we talked about how on Friday night, the Pacers were going to get their best effort, and I think it was clear at Gainbridge Fieldhouse the Pacers got their best effort. You magnify that coming up tomorrow night, too, because they are absolutely on the ropes. Like we talked about how the Pacers make this season. coming off of last year and the Eastern Conference Finals, how do they make this season? Where do we draw the line for this being successful? And we can go ahead and flip the script on this. Where do you think they draw the line in Cleveland for a season in which you're the best in the East, second best in the NBA, and potentially you go out in 5 games in the Eastern Conference semifinals to the 4 seed? How do you rank that, even with the injuries? And again, I'm going to get to that because Patrick Beverley, as much as you probably dislike him, hit this entire thing on the head. And Eddie Garrison walked out of here and said something to me that I would love to know myself. So I don't know if this is going to be a question sometime for Chad Buchanan or if the fellas in the morning can ask Rick Carlisle that. But we'll play off of that. I'll tell you a little bit more as the show goes on. I mean, it's enough. We all witnessed the impression last night, if you were watching it there or if you were watching at home. But there's some things that aren't so subtle any longer about this Pacer team that, let's just face it, other teams have an incredibly difficult time to deal with. You want to challenge your depth? The Pacers are going to challenge your depth. You want to know the reason why I want to keep these guys together? Because you look at them individually, and maybe sometimes you're not overwhelmed. But when you put this puzzle together, it is vividly clear the purpose for these guys as a team and then what they bring. And they bring a different style than anybody else does. What do I always say? Because I say it as well. Hey, man, up and down basketball is great. Man, it would be great if we played. I used to say that about Loyola Marymount all the time in the early 90s, late 80s. Man, this style would be great. Yeah, I would go and play for Paul Westhead. In fact, I had Paul Westhead on the show. I would love to play for you. I'd be puking in the first 5 minutes of practice. Like that Browns rookie lineman. I'd be puking all over the place. You would too. We all would. Because you always look and say that you want to play that way. But not everybody is built to be able to play that way. The Pacers have guys that can, and you even witnessed that when all the benches were in there. I mean, the Cavaliers still had guys that were breathing heavy. Pacers are going up and down the floor. It is just different, and it is beneficial on both ends. But again, to double back, you saw 2 things that have become major components of this Pacer team that you're just used to. A professional response when the game prior you kind of feel some embarrassment, or it's a double-digit loss as it was on Friday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and their best defense is played when their offense is humming to a level, not even necessarily 42 points in the second quarter. That's an anomaly of greatness. Of being in a zone, whatever you want to call it. But believe me, their defense is a hell of a lot better when their offense is shredding everybody. It's always been that way. If they would have put up 33, 35 in that quarter, you'd have felt good, and their defense is automatically better. But you hold Cleveland to 16 points in the second quarter. Think about this for a moment. I mean, nearly twice that is what they scored in the fourth quarter, Cleveland, with the dudes that never get any run. It is just different. So we're going to go over all of that in impressive fashion. Again, you got game number 5 coming up tomorrow night. That is in Cleveland. Coverage right here on The Fan. Pat Boylan's going to have you coming up, tomorrow at 6:30, I believe, with the pregame coverage for you, too. Alex Palou doing what Alex Palou does. He goes out and he wins an IndyCar race. Does that make him the favorite coming up for the Indianapolis 500? We shall see. We'll talk a little bit about the weekend out at IMS, the forthcoming qualifying weekend as well. And yes, we're not too far away from one of the greatest weeks and weekends that we have here, not just in central Indiana, but the state of Indiana. And you are going to be significantly a part of that with me. In fact, I've got Carb Day tickets we'll give away at some point during the show. I think James Boyd going to join us. Eddie Gill is on the fence because of a flight situation. Do we know any more about that?
Not at the moment. He did say if they had landed and they were at the team hotel, he'll be able to hop on.
All right. So Eddie Gill, hopefully before the end of the show. I mentioned James Boyd was supposed to be on Friday. We couldn't get him in because he had stuff to do over at the Coles Complex. We'll work in James from the morning show coming up a little bit later on. And Stephen Holder can tell us this. So Trey Hendrickson clearly is done unless he takes a massive pay cut in Cincinnati. With the news of Trey Hendrickson today, does that make it any more likely that maybe the Colts would have interest at some point? Stephen Holder is going to join us too, but we are going to be intensified with the Pacers. The win last night, hey, by the way, shout out to everybody at the Fieldhouse. What a great crowd that was. I got some friends behind me last night. Shout out to Tommy S. Tommy S. and I, by the way, the owner of Coach's Tavern James, undefeated this season when we attend the game together and I drink 4 beers or more.
Well, that sounds like that's exactly what you have to do the rest of the playoffs.
When I drink 4 beers or more and I go to the game with Tommy S., owner of Coach's Tavern, the Pacers are unbeaten. Just want to say that. Put that out there. Now, I'm also unbeaten. Here's the best thing. His seats are great because it takes me – I can be – up the stairs, into the bathroom, and back down during a 20-second timeout. And believe me, at 55, sometimes it is like cranking up the drawbridge to get things going in the bathroom in those situations. So normally it takes me but 2.5 minutes. A 20-second timeout is called, and I am up there, right there.
What's weird is I also saw that I think the Pacers are undefeated at home in the playoffs on games where Caitlin Clark is in attendance.
I think that's probably true as well.
So you need to be at the Fieldhouse and drunk, and she just needs to be there as well.
I need to be at the Fieldhouse and drunk, although 4 beers not going to get this guy drunk.
That's
Let me
fair.
tell you
That's
that
fair.
right here, man. We're a little bit too veteran presence for you right there.
Not even with the weight loss?
It is a little bit more of a challenge. I will say that now because I didn't eat a damn thing yesterday either. So, I mean, I ate a couple of protein bars. I was on the road. I got up. So I slept like 4 hours after the JMV takeover. Got up, and because we had some wimps that are playing wiffle ball for whatever reason on Mother's Day, we had 4-on-4 full court, and I make everybody go. We're going to go 2 hours 4-on-4 full court. Believe me, if you're frowning upon that, it is great. It is a great workout, and if you love basketball, it puts you in situations that are very uncomfortable, especially if you suck at guarding a chair. And I suck at guarding a chair. Awesome. So then I go to Greene County, and here's one thing. If you're from the country right now, are the ticks a big problem? I think ticks normally are a problem, but I swear to God, yesterday I was down at my mom's, and I was walking around outside. I had to help a friend break into a camper that he had accidentally locked himself out of. I'm really good at breaking into stuff. So we had to help a friend of mine that I went to high school with break into a camper. But I got home last night, and I thought, my God, what am I, Grizzly Adams? I got things crawling all over my ass here. Are the ticks bad this year?
Not that I'm aware.
I don't want a hard frost, but we got to get rid of these creepy crawly things, man. I got home last night. I go, what, these things are all over my ass here.
I mean, aren't they always just kind of a pain in the ass?
My goodness. Seriously. I had to go there. I had to go over to Spencer, and then I had to meet Tommy S. downtown. So I literally have had like 5 hours of sleep all weekend. It's a good thing that I'm a manimal.
That might be why your voice is a little bit.
My voice is messed up. My voice was so messed up, James, on Saturday night, it was not even funny.
I can only imagine.
It was. I have no idea what's going on. I may be losing it.
It's because you're only getting 5 hours of sleep and pulling ticks all off.
I think all you jackasses out there that want to get me off the air, it may just be because my voice box is going to say, you know what, the hell with you. At 55, I've had enough. I'm done. That's what it sounds like right now. Because it sounds like I smoked like 19 cartons of Marlboros over the weekend, and I haven't. I'm a non-smoker.
What was
that's that type of non-smoker. But,
what was the phrase from last week? I can't remember who it was. Said you sound like someone after going through 2 packs of heaters.
Yeah, that's me right there. Now, quick break. We'll come back. I mentioned Carbier tickets. I got a lot of me and a lot of you on the other side, too. I thought everybody was spectacular. Crowd was spectacular at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And the Pacers put the Cavaliers on the brink. But I also want to get to, seriously here, the genius of Patrick Beverley. And the real key and the real reason you see situations, for example, like Donovan Mitchell. We'll do that coming up on the other side. Don't go anywhere. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. It's a Monday on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Some motherfuckers can hoop, wrong. They're physical as They might be the most physical team in the NBA. Every team they play, another motherfucker from the opposing team get hurt. For like the last 2 years, they wear your ass down to the bone and motherfuckers is, I can't play today. I can't play. Talking about they pick you up 94 feet. They with all the bullshit. James Johnson's over there in the cut. They're a tough team, bro. Service announcement. Hello, service announcement. Yeah, don't underestimate them up. They can hoop.
I think that was over the weekend. Patrick Beverley has a podcast. I think you were aware of this even last year. And I realize you guys don't like Patrick Beverley a great deal. And in fact, he probably doesn't like you guys either. However, he was 100% on the money with this. And what he said, and I don't know when exactly that thing dropped, as they say. I'm assuming at some point over the weekend. But I saw it late last night. And I'm going to equate that to Donovan Mitchell. I'll equate that to Evan Mobley. I'll equate that to DeAndre Hunter. You can go back to Bucks series this year, a year ago, to the Knicks series a year ago. And as Patrick Beverley stated, between all the MFers, it is about the pace. They wear you to the bone. That's what they do. Everybody that's ever picked up a basketball wants to play that style. There's about 1% of people out there that's equipped to do it. And I thought Eddie Garrison asked me a great question on the way out. He says, I want, and maybe this is something I present to James Boyd, remind me of that when he joins us coming up, James, at the top of the hour. They talk to Rick Carlisle in the morning every Tuesday. I would also love to know how they train these guys. I mean, these guys will occasionally be injured. Halliburton's been injured. Turner's been injured. There's no doubt about that. But how do these guys get trained? Because there are a lot of these teams that simply put, the style is indulging, and you get up and down, and it's a lot of offense, and it's great. But as Patrick Beverley stated, that wears you down. Oh, was that Gilbert Arenas, not Patrick Beverley? Well, that was Patrick Beverley. He said that was Gilbert Arenas. I thought it was Patrick Beverley. I swear it looked like Patrick Beverley to me. That's what I looked up, Patrick Beverley. Michael said that was Gilbert Arenas. Well, if it is, I'll have to stand corrected because I give credit where credit is due, because that was 100% accurate. I don't know whether or not both are saying it. I just know I looked it up and it said it was equated to Patrick Beverley saying that, and I thought it was a part of his podcast. Whatever the situation, and whomever said it, they're accurate, because this style of play, this pace on both ends, it wears you out. And it is the reason why, as he said, blankers get injured. Because you can't keep up with it. You may want to play that way, but you're not built, you're not equipped to play that way. To me, it is, and I've stated this all along, it is a significant advantage. And believe there are moments like Friday night when, for whatever reason the Pacers aren't ready. And I listen, you can put that a couple of different ways because they weren't, and they owned it up, and we'll get to the whole Halliburton thing in a moment regarding that. They owned up to it, but they normally have a fairly significant response. By the way, Terry Jones says that was, hey, Michael, what the hell? Don't say it's Gilbert Arenas when it's Patrick Beverley. Don't correct the host of the show when he's accurate. Son of a gun. No free drinks for you, Michael. Anyway, it does wear you down. I've always felt that there's something behind it. And if you go back to the start of this series and all the whining and the crying from Kenny Atkinson, he recognizes that as well. He wants more calls. He wants a favorable whistle. They got a favorable whistle last night. They shot 40 stinking free throws and lost by 20, should have lost by 30, and could have lost by 40. And shot 40 free throws. You know how ridiculous that is? 40 free throws. And let's face it, there's a quick shout to Benedict Mathurin. This is twofold. You are way too valuable to put yourself in that situation. Now, part of me digs the fact that you have a long memory and you hold a grudge and you don't like this dude, DeAndre Hunter. But you can't do that. Now I was on the other end of the floor. I thought that Mathurin hit Hunter in the nuts. But then I was corrected, and then I went home and watched it, and it was in the, well, they say the sternum. I just think nuts sound better. Probably not for him, but I thought, and this is what I thought, when they gave him the flagrant 2, I thought, well, he had to be in the nuts, because we all know this. Yeah, the nuts are just going to be more of a flagrant 2. Like the two-handed shove is going to be a technical foul, clearly. But when you go below the belt, then I would think that's automatically a flagrant 2. Although Draymond Green seems to do it every game and doesn't get much for it at all. However, the right thing to do, both these dudes have to go. And we have seen this in this series so far. There's been baiting. There has been flopping. There has been responses. Andrew Nembhard in game number 3 responded and then got called. To Max Strus, who is flopping all over the place. If he's not hitting a wide-open three-point look, he's flopping everywhere. Good player, but he's a flopper. You know, he's a flopper, and you go up and you immediately clutch and you grab Halliburton on the inbound. But no, what I'm trying to say, I guess, about Kenny Atkinson here, he's not the coach of the year for nothing. And I know we're all pissed at him because he's a whiner. But he is as good a coach as you're going to find. He truly is. He's just a big whiner right now. He's doing it for a reason. He's doing it for his team. He's doing it to try to get an edge on the calls. But look at how they've tried to slow down off of makes. Then basically on the inbounds pass, they go up and grab a hold of Tyrese Halliburton. They go, hey, Gris, grab him. And they force these guys to blow their whistle. The right thing to do with the whole Mathurin thing, first of all, the right thing to do is for Mathurin, I want you to be the so-called dog like that, but can you please keep your ass in the game? Because you're lucky your teammates responded in the fashion in which they did. Here's the second reason why you're fortunate, because then Miles comes over and protects you. Miles gets a technical, and you're going to go, well, it's just a technical. The NBA, it's meaningless. What happens if you get number 2 and you have to walk? So all of a sudden now you're a technical away from one of your significant pieces being disqualified. Just don't put yourself in that situation. Go out and get his ass a different way. Go out and get him a different way. I know you don't like him, and in fact, I don't know if there's a lot of people here that like him either. But go out and get him in a different way. Not to put yourself in that situation, but then potentially put a teammate coming to your aid or your defense in that situation. Just don't jack with it that way. Like, I like him too much, and I like his mentality too much, to try to reprogramming. But sternum, stomach, nuts, let's just say, the knee bone's connected to the leg bone, whatever. Just don't do it. Because clearly, anywhere in the general vicinity of your sack is going to be more significant in the tolerance or lack thereof of the officiating crew and those that are watching the replay than a clear as day two-handed shove to the floor that gets a technical and that's it. I mean, really, if one goes, the other has to go. The retaliation also has to have consequences. But Mathurin, just don't put yourself in that situation. All right, quick break. We'll come back. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. If you're not there, get there. James Boyd at the top of the hour. Again, that was Patrick Beverley, and he was 100% right. It is not just a coincidence that all these dudes get injured playing the Pacers. There is a lot to be said about the pace of play and how juiced and excited you get because that's how you want to play until you're actually playing that way. And you realize that the Pacers do that on both ends. I thought that was as well put, even with all the MFers dropped right there, as you could put it about this Pacer team. Professional response after getting embarrassed on Friday night, and the pace of play leading to the positive results you're looking for, especially on the defensive end. Get back to that coming up on the other side. Your calls, James Boyd, Eddie Gill, Stephen Holder, Trey Hendrickson is out there, even more significant now than ever. Think the Colts have any interest? Alex Palou, the winner of the Sancio Grand Prix over the weekend. And we're going to get down to serious business leading up to qualifying weekend out at IMS. That and more coming straight at you on this Monday. Do not go anywhere. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. them or just enjoy them.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Neesmith way out on the left edge, centers it to Turner, who bounces once and gives it to Halliburton. Back to Neesmith, attacking, kicks it to the top, and Turner hits a three. He's got a dozen. The Pacers lead by 31 points.
I love Miles. 33 goes for the heat check and knocks down the heat check. I got a heat check arousal last night in Game 4. There's nothing better than heat checking and the heat check go in. Oh, basketball people would certainly know that. When's the last time you took a heat check? You take a heat check, goes in. Now your heat check goes off the top of the backboard. When the heat check goes in, you are having yourself a significant evening. Pacers win 3-1, Game 5, Cleveland tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Tip time coverage right here at 6:30. Pacers have themselves on the brink. I saw this from Evan Sidery, courtesy of Shams. Giannis wants to play alongside another top star player who would take some burden off of him. Giannis and his reps are actively looking into other potential destinations as he mulls over the immediate future with the Bucks. I know that like Windhorst is rocking the Spurs and the Rockets and the Pelicans as possibilities. This would be my advice now. What would be wrong with going to a team that is well built with a great deal of depth? This is what I love and why I wanted to see this thing run back and why a lot of you got pissy with me about it over the offseason, over the summer. It's because I love the style in which this has been cobbled together. I know cobble's an 1880s word right here, but I like the way that this has been assembled. It is highly unusual. But for this team, with their style of play, it is essential. Not everybody's going to roll in here and be able to play like that. Especially roll in here, be able to play like that, and not always be out with some sort of injury. Now, why not a team? Why does it have to be just some other dude? You had another dude. His name is Damian Lillard. That thing did not work for 2 years. You've been better off keeping Holiday and Middleton and not jacking with the entirety of the experience. J-Law writes this: in addition to the Pacers being perfect while you're in attendance with Tommy S. from Coach's Tavern, are those glorious tennis shoes you have on in that picture a thing of beauty, also a part of the win streak? They are. However, I did wear them on Friday night, and that was not glorious. They are not unbeaten this year. Those are the Nike Air Force One blue and gold that I got courtesy of our friends from Zinc. I love my friends at Zinc Distributing, and Michelob Ultra, which allows me to drink beer and lose weight. Thank you. Just like Chad Kroeger famously said, James, for the band Nickelback. We'll all get skinny because we just don't eat, but we still drink beer and bourbon. I'm just quoting Chad Kroeger on this show, man. Hey, by the way, can you get Scott Stapp on the show? Did you see the livery?
I did not.
For Felix Rosenquist?
I guess I have to look it up.
It's Creed.
Really?
It's Creed.
Did he choose to have that on there?
There's a video that I retweeted or re-X'd, whatever, where he is cranking up Higher by Creed. The livery is Creed. I'm telling you what, this may be one of the greatest years since the 1980s for livery at the greatest spectacle in racing. You've got the throwback in honor of Danny Sullivan's 85 spin to win with Miller High Life. The High Life's rocking with Jacob Abel. And now Felix just won the race. When you're rolling around with Creed, you just won the race. It's incredible. A quick one, I'll come back. I see you on hold. Jonah, I'll get to you on the other side. James, coming up here. Morning show, James Boyd on the other side. We've got Holder. We've got Eddie Gill. I've got Carb Day tickets. Are you like me? Do you believe that Felix Rosenqvist just won the greatest spectacle in racing because he is rolling around IMS with Creed livery? Seriously, if I'm Nickelback, I'm getting pissed and I'm slapping something on somebody's ride ASAP. Like right now. Who else can we put on there around that whole Creed era? Can we
Papa Roach?
Can we put put Our Lady Peace on the side of somebody's car? Do it. Where's my guys from Revis, Southern Illinois? Caught in the Rain? Where's Put Revis on the side of something.
Trapped was one of those bands, right?
Oh, I don't think anybody likes Trapped. Did Trapped do something that pissed everybody off?
They may have.
Something
I don't
politically.
know. I don't really follow them.
Chevelle. You could put Chevelle on somebody's Chevy. Shout out to Felix Meyer Shank Racing, Michael Shank, for their association with Creed. James Boyd on the other side. Stick right there. Actually, more so than that, get on the lines. Let's chat you up coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Pacers on the brink, up 3-1. Best of 7 Eastern Conference semifinals. Back with you next.
Why not? Why not? A three from 2 miles away, out on the left side. This cannot possibly be happening.
It is absolutely insane what's going on in this building right now.
A 41-point lead.
Boyle, Gill, the fan. Game 4 last night. Pacers up 3-1, best of 7. Game 5 in Cleveland, with a road chance to close out, where the Pacers are 2-0 on the road in Cleveland so far this year. And as they say, a game-time decision within question is star guard Donovan Mitchell for the Cavaliers. That and more of your incredible liveries. If Felix is going to go with Creed, then I think we got to work some other light bands in on the side of somebody's greatest spectacle in racing mobile. I know that Creed has set a significant bar with Meyer Shank Racing here. Back to that coming up in just a minute. You're right, Sean. Travis Meeks is from Charlestown, Indiana. Travis Meeks, the lead singer, Days of the New, James. You remember that band? What, late 90s, early 2000s? Indeed. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we get all you guys back on here, especially on the phones in a second. But from the morning show, he, along with Kevin Bone and Jeff Rickard, weekday morning 7 until 10 a.m. It's our friend James Boyd with us right now. James, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Obviously pretty wired after last night's win.
Now, the big question is, all this other crap aside, are you ready to come back and hoop again?
I am. I believe you texted me, and I didn't text back because I was in the middle of the draft, and I forgot to text back. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, because we played full court 4-on-4 for 2 hours yesterday, which was awesome, by the way.
Hey, I respect that. What a hustle.
No, I mean, seriously, it's a great workout, and if you're deficient at guarding, then everybody knows it. So.
Is that a Bucks reference or a Cavs reference?
Yeah. Well, everybody knows it. Hey, I do want to bring this up. 2 things about the Pacers that I thought last night exemplified with this group, this team, this organization. And we'll start with this, is that when they have a major letdown, a double-digit loss, and looked as bad as they did on Friday night in game number 3, you can almost always, according to the numbers, count on a significant bounce back, which is exactly what we witnessed last night at the Fieldhouse.
Absolutely. Just an absolute beatdown. Not only was it a bounce back, it was a statement game. It was, we're just better than you. And that was my feeling, JMV, just leaving the stadium last night. I was thinking to myself, like, wow, this team, what if they're just good enough? Health issues aside, I get it's a factor, but not a 40-point halftime lead factor. So I was very impressed with just the balance overall. And I think the balance also stood out to me because I expected Tyrese Halliburton to have like a huge bounce back game. And he played better, but he didn't need it because the entire team just kicked the Cavs in the teeth from start to finish.
Yeah. The other thing that stands out to me, and especially in the second quarter, 42 points is overwhelming, and clearly they swamped the Cavaliers. But with this Pacer team, the more significant number to me, James, even more than that, which is crazy, is holding Cleveland to 16 points in the second quarter, which once again magnifies if their offense is clicking at a high level, it normally does significantly help them out on the defensive end. I didn't think that there was a greater quarter this season that described that than the second quarter last night.
Absolutely. I mean, how about Darius Garland? You come back from the toe injury, and your gift for trying to fight through the pain is Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard. And I'm just looking at these guys like, and you just talked about how if we're playing 4-on-4 with just a bunch of our buddies, a lot of open lanes, you can drive or whatever. Man, those dudes hound you. And obviously, it's a different game at the NBA level. That's neither here nor there. But trying to come back, get your rhythm, and then you got 2 pit bulls guarding you 94 feet up the court. Not to mention TJ McConnell gets in on the mix. I mean, that is some hard, tough sledding right there. And honestly, JMV, I think that they are the best conditioned team in the league. And if they aren't number one, they're close to being number one. I mean, my goodness, they just run, they hit you, they're physical. And let's just talk about the offense and the balance there. They're very balanced on defense as well, where they just get after you and force you to play their way more often than not.
Well, it's James Boyd, the morning show on The Athletic, with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, which was nice of you to do that. This leads me to my next question, because Eddie Garrison loaded this up for me as I was coming in here today, and I felt the same thing. You guys will talk to Rick Carlisle in the morning. I would love for you to ask him how they condition their guys to be ready for this. Because here's the reason why I think it's more than appropriate now. We have seen in every single series that they played, maybe with the exception of Boston, and I think Porzingis may have been out a year ago in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not sure. But somebody go down, and now it's Donovan Mitchell. And Patrick Beverley in a podcast said, this is not just a coincidence. This Pacer team is the most physical in the NBA, not because they're tough and they're going to knock you down, but because of their style of play and their condition wears players down to the bone. And then ultimately we have seen guys be injured because of that. I would happen to agree with Patrick Beverley's point, but I would love for you to ask Rick Carlisle how they train and how they condition, because a lot of dudes say they want to play that style of basketball, that brand of basketball, but there's about 1% out there that's capable of actually doing it.
Oh, 1,000%. And you got it. I definitely will ask him that. I want to ask him that myself as well. So you doubling down makes me think I'm on the right track here, because, you know, you think about just the amount of running they do. And when I say they, I mean mostly like their front court. Most of their back court. They run so much on defense, and then they give it right back to you on offense. I think Aaron Nesmith in particular is like the best conditioned athlete in the NBA, or at least in that conversation, because of how hard he plays on offense and defense and dive on the floor. Rebounding, physicality, all of it makes them look like they're stronger. And I was telling somebody the other day, in the game that the Cavs did win, they kind of took that effort to the Pacers, where they were able to – actually, I think that back, the game that they lost, game 2, the Cavs tried to come out and be like the Pacers and, you know, face guard and pick up 94 feet, all those things. In those final few moments, they blew that game, part of it because of fatigue and bad decisions, and they kind of wore down. The Pacers don't wear down. They get stronger because of their depth throughout the game. And then you look at a fresh Andrew Nembhard or Aaron Nesmith in the fourth quarter, 2 minutes to go. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, and the Pacers have it down to a science now, too, because, you know, they utilize these lengthier timeouts because of the postseason now. They utilize that with their guys. I swear to you, and this was a different game last night, and I was there, you were there. To me, I didn't see Tyrese Halliburton for an hour. So on the floor, not an hour in clock time, but an hour in real time. Does that make sense to you? I didn't see Miles for an hour, like in real time last night. They take advantage of everything this postseason has to offer to give them the edge. And also this, James, Kenny Atkinson, his whole countermeasure going all the way back to after game number 1 was to try to dictate some terms and get that whistle to his advantage. But you have seen that he's trying to slow the Pacers down even after makes on the inbound. So it is going to be either Strus or it's going to be Merrill, and every single time they're arm barring Tyrese Halliburton to try to keep them out of that high caliber rhythm. That's been their counter, and to this point, down 3-1, clearly it hasn't worked.
No, it hasn't. I actually think that Tyrese perhaps wasn't feeling all that great, like wrist-wise, in Game 3. Now, he would never say that, and obviously that was to the end of the season to figure out how hurt most athletes really are. But the amount of time he spent off the ball in Game 3 was kind of odd to me, and just the way he kind of accepted how they guarded him. I thought he was much more assertive in Game 4, even though he wasn't, like, having some great, stellar performance we're going to remember forever. He was definitely less, willing to just let them take him out of the game. So I thought he kind of, got in the ref's ear early and used their physicality to his advantage. It's like, okay, you don't want me to move. I'm going to yank my arms up. I'm going to run straight through your chest. I'm going to, do these things to force them to call something because you're restricting my freedom of movement. I was the way guarding him kind of reminded me of how most teams try to guard Steph Curry, a lot of grabbing and holding and stuff like that. And when you force the issue on the ref and kind of get them, to at least acknowledge that you are being held, that bodes well for you. And then you saw the Cavs kind of lose their composure there with some of the stuff Strus was doing and others where they just got frustrated. But it's like, yeah, man, you can't just grab me the whole game if I'm willing to move and continue to force the issue.
It's James Boyd of the Morning Show. He and Kevin and Jeff, weekday morning, 7 until 10 a.m., also writes for The Athletic. James on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So do you buy this whole Donovan Mitchell game-time decision, significant ankle injury, or is this more kind of sandbagging gamesmanship going into Game 5? I don't know why you would necessarily have to play that game because I think the stakes are pretty obvious the way that it is right now. But do you think there's any NBA coaching informational gamesmanship being played here regarding that injury?
No, I don't really think so. I know people have all the conspiracy theories like, oh, he just didn't want to play the second half or whatever, but that was a weird sort of injury in the way he went down. And just knowing Donovan Mitchell and how he's, kind of carried himself in the NBA, just how much of a competitor he is, and honestly one of the greatest, playoff scorers we've probably seen, at least in my era, he isn't somebody that's going to lay down or can see anything. So I do think that it's realistic that they're going to try to make him a game-down decision, and they're kind of 50-50 on if he can go or not. But at the same time, I just wonder, the narrative early on was if the Cavs get healthy and the series goes longer, they have the advantage. Now I'm like, if the series keeps going, game after game, obviously the Pacers want to close it out. But I don't think more games necessarily gives the Cavs an advantage. It kind of seems like they wear down or they're kind of breaking down as the series goes on. So we'll see what it means. And again, like he's saying about Darius Garland with his toe, DeAndre Hunter with his thumb, and other players, Donovan Mitchell with his ankle this time, your gift for trying to play through that is seeing two killers on the other side who are going to hound you the entire game. You're not coming back and playing against me, and on the pick and roll. You're going against guys who could be on an all-NBA defensive team.
Hey, James, you were in the locker room, I'm assuming, or at least with them asking questions after the game. I'm curious regarding Mathurin, and I mentioned this earlier. Clearly, you can't do what he did because to me, it's twofold. I want him to be a dog, and he is, not in that fashion. They both should have been tossed. If one's tossed, the other should have been tossed because Hunter had the reaction and he didn't get tossed. But the other thing that situation did, it also puts Miles in this case in a situation. He gets teed up. So let's just say, for example, somebody hands out like they do candy in playoff series in the NBA, double technicals, oftentimes for little to no reason. Then he gets a second, he gets tossed. So there are some things to think about other than his 1 minute of play and not being involved in most of that game. The Pacers were fortunate in winning it, and I want him to be a dog as he normally is, but just in a much different fashion. That just can't happen.
No, it can't happen. You made a very good point about putting Miles in a position where if he escalates that even more, do the refs look at this and say, oh, man, he crossed the line, he has to be ejected. I'm not saying that's what happened yesterday, but you never know when things get dicey like that. If he runs over and somebody swings on him, he swings back, then what? So I think, and what I've been saying, I said it on the morning show earlier today, I've said it in person to people I've talked to about the situation, I think Mathurin is too good of a player to be this much of like an irritant, if that makes sense. Like, you don't necessarily have to be that type of player. Some people have to do that to kind of make that their thing, their little, calling card to stick around in the NBA. But I'm like, dude, you can really play basketball. You can really hoop. It hasn't lost me or been lost on me. When I first talked to Ronald Norad when he was still with the Pacers, he was a summer league coach. And when Benedict Mathurin got drafted, I was like, man, who does this guy kind of remind you of, just the way he plays, his build? And he said D. Wade. And I'm not saying Benedict Mathurin is going to be D. Wade or he is D. Wade. When he drops to the basket, I do see some D. Wade-esque type of moves. And so if you get that type of role player on your team, he can be effective. And he's proven that he's not afraid of the moment in the playoffs. He's had a couple of pretty good games. But, yes, I agree, man. He needs to, maybe not play so many of the mental games and just play the actual game to contribute to the team.
You are surprised at all about especially the game that he had yesterday? I think I could say the same thing about Garland, even though he had a 21-point effort. But the guys that came back from injury, in particular here, Mobley and Garland, not living up to, I'm sure, Cavaliers fans' expectation. And I know that Garland had 21 last night, but he can't guard you right now, James, whether it's a toe or he just can't guard anybody in general. To me, oftentimes defensively, he is such a detriment on that end that it completely counters what he can be capable of doing offensively, which to me has been an advantage for the Pacers.
Oh, 100%, man. I feel like every game from here on out, you can probably just pencil in for 2 fouls in the first half, maybe 3, because they're going to put him in every action. Any smart team would. If we know you're compromised, I mean, JMV, we hoop. We do it in pickup games. If I know your ankle's hurting, I'm going at you. I'm sorry, buddy. Like, that's what it is. And so you compound that with his height and him not being a bigger player, it just makes it even harder for him to kind of be out there on the defensive side of the ball. And I thought that even on offense, he hasn't looked like his usual explosive, shifty self. And if you notice his JMV, he kind of like had a couple of blown tires there where no one touched him. He just went down.
Yeah.
And I think that there are certain points where maybe he pushes off and that toe just, feels like it's on fire and he can't really function or know how to respond in the moment. Because he had one weird fall in the third quarter where he took out McConnell and McConnell was called for the foul. But you go back and watch it, I'm like, he wasn't touched. He fell just, because of the toe, and then he took out McConnell's legs. And I'm like, that should be a foul on the offensive guy. So, yeah, he is clearly compromised. And I actually think that the more he plays on that thing, the more pain he's going to feel. It's one of those things where I messed up my toe playing basketball. Not saying I'm Darius Garland, but it took me about 2 months to get right as far as just feeling better. And I don't know if, how much round-the-clock treatment you can get when you have to go out again and your gift is Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard. Good luck.
James Boyd with us. Before I let you go, obviously it was thrilling watching the Pacers play. 42 points in the second quarter. That goes without saying. The game was over at the half. You go back to game number 2. They won in incredible fashion, down 7 with 42 seconds remaining. We know how that went down. But I think one of their best games of the entire season, and certainly of this postseason so far, was game number 1. How do you go about, and I know shooting the basketball efficiently is where you start, but how do you go about trying to look like you did on the road to really set the stage for where you are right now, going all the way back more than a week ago on that Sunday night in game number 1? How do the Pacers do that tomorrow night to close this thing out on the road, which most people, including Vegas, feel is fairly improbable?
Yeah, it's been crazy to see every single line, even at home, they've been the underdog. But to me, a lot of it starts with your leader, Tyrese Halliburton. We haven't had, we've had some good games from him, but we haven't had like the, great overall phenomenal game. Now, I know that people are like, well, what about game 2? Yes, game 2 he was pretty solid, even game 1. But I mean, like, I'm the best player in the world type of game. Will it be that? And then I say that tongue in cheek because I know the Pacers are like, well, we don't need him to be that. We got so many other guys who can step up. That it helps. But I think the level of aggression from Tyrese, and aggression, I don't mean like shot taking. I mean just his ability to, be engaged in the offense. You can't let them take you out of it with junk defense. You can't let them hand check you and hold you. You force the issue. You run the offense, and you make sure that your guys are in position to feel confident to knock down shots. And then I think, like any road environment, if you get a few to go down early, as far as some outside looks, role players getting some baskets, it helps you as the game goes on to build that confidence to close them out because I do think this Cleveland team will be desperate. I guess they're wearing the all-black uniforms, blackout, all of that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, perfect opportunity if you're a Pacers guy or a Pacers fan for your team to sit down and watch your team go out there and put them in the grave, for their own funeral. So we'll see. But I think it starts with Tyrese and also Pascal. He kind of had a Pascal game the other night, last night, 9 of 10 from the field, very efficient. Of course, I'm expecting him to shoot 90% from the field in game 5. But if he can be an all-NBA Pascal, your 2 leaders step up, you should be in good shape as far as the other guys kind of following after you.
Final thing with you, James, and we can put it this way or phrase it this way. Who was the biggest no-show in Game 3 of the Pacers and Game 4 of the Cavaliers? But who did what a lot of people felt they would do with a significant response in Game 3? Which one was more impressive, what the Cavs did on Friday night or what the Pacers did last night?
Ooh, great question. I'm probably going to go with what the Cavs did on Friday night, mainly because they lost in such historic fashion in Game 2. And so for Donovan Mitchell to come back, okay, I had 48 game 2. We lose, we piss down our leg and blow this lead, and I come back to give you 43 to get us back in the series. That to me showed some incredible mental fortitude. But at the same time, as I was talking to one of my buddies who covers the Cavs yesterday, I think the Cavs might be done in this series. Not even I think they are done in this series because you're asking them to win 5 games out of 7 because they blew one. And against good teams, you can't blow a game like that and expect to be in this series. I mean, quite frankly, it should be 2-2. It isn't. And because of that, I think the Pacers are going to be moving on either in Game 5 or Game 6.
Can you be the best team in the Eastern Conference and then lose in 5 games to the 4-seed Pacers and not be viewed as a tremendous disappointment? I mean, don't you go like 0 to 80 with levels of disappointment if the Cavaliers folded up tomorrow night at Game 5?
Yeah, you definitely feel it. And, I mean, part of that, maybe you have some perspective and the injuries caught up to you at the wrong time. They were extremely unlucky, but at the same time, man, either way you slice it, this was supposed to be a different version of this Cavaliers team. The non-LeBron Cavaliers, the first team, post-LeBron era that was a real serious contender and things like that. And obviously, anytime you don't win and you're finishing with a record like that in the regular season, there's going to be big questions and potential changes throughout your roster. One guy in particular, who I believe, and I don't say this joking, I say this honestly, one of the best players for the Pacers in this series has been Ty Jerome. This guy was supposed to be hyped up as, 6th man of the year candidate, had a great first round. This second round, he's been totally exposed. And maybe that's another question for you that looms, is our bench, is our supporting cast good enough at these moments in the season? Because you're asking a bum-toed, Darius Garland to do all these things because Ty Jerome is kind of unplayable so far, JMV. I don't know how you feel about it, but the dude cannot be played right now.
He can't. Well, he can't guard anybody. And once the Pacers figured out his Euro travel, he's screwed. Seriously.
Yeah, that Euro step is so weird too. Just shoot the floater, man. Shoot the floater.
I mean, he tried that Euro travel now, and after the Pacers got used to seeing it, he has no window, and then you can tell he is so in the dumps right now, and so much of that, and basketball folks will know this, is about confidence. And he is at the lowest of the low points right now. And I would agree. I think more so than that, that's why you can't play him or you wouldn't want him out there a bunch because he just doesn't have any confidence in any skill set that he has at this moment. And that's detrimental to everybody.
Exactly. He's out there playing, and I think he's knowing that, going to free agency this summer, I was supposed to get all this money. I was supposed to get $20 million a year and all of this. And I think it can get to you. I mean, Jeff Teague talked about it on his own podcast where players don't talk about it to us in the media, but it is a real thing. You feel that anxiety of, man, I have to get these certain numbers to get this certain, paycheck. But on top of that, it's also being compounded by me not performing in the biggest games of the year. So that reveals your true value, man, and it's certainly in his head.
Yeah, James Boyd's got you along with Jeff and Kevin tomorrow morning. They'll have Rick Carlisle. James will ask how they train because clearly this has not had just an effect on them and their productivity on both ends and how good they are as a team, but it also has had an effect on the opposition with guys getting dinged up and injured, and not a lot of dudes can play this style in this fashion. So ask him that. We'll be listening tomorrow, James. I appreciate you also writing for The Athletic as you normally do. Great to talk with you. I'll let you know when we play this weekend.
Sounds good, man. You have a good one.
James Boyd on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Shout out to Dylan Welch. Dylan Welch, the broadcaster, NASCAR broadcaster, the Xfinity Series. I saw him last night at the game. The CW is where you can find the Xfinity Series. Great to see Dylan Welch. Nice picture of me right there. Look at that hair. Does my hair look like that from the side right there? It looks like I got it slicked back. But those Air Force Ones are badass right there, courtesy of Zinc Distributing and Mick Ultra. I do like those. So those are the shoes I told you about, James. I didn't wear them all last year because they hurt my feet, and I found out the reason why they hurt my feet is I was just too fat. You lose some weight, and they feel better. Great to see Dylan at the game last night. Quick break, we'll come back. Stephen Holder, Trey Hendrickson now, does it become a little bit more of a possibility? We'll get into that. A little bit more Pacer Hoops conversation. Eddie Gill and Carb Day tickets coming up. And your calls at 239-1070 as well next.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Now, who's ready for Carb Day? I've got tickets to give away. Not now. Not now. But later on, Brett Michaels, the All-American Rejects. May 23rd. Over a week away right now from that greatness, and we're going to be out there basically from Carb Day all the way through Monday. The Bronze Fun Time Camper inside the Coke Lot. JMV Takeover live from the Coke Lot a week from Saturday night. It all starts with Carb Day. IMS.com. Get your tickets. Get them right now, or maybe you'll be fortunate enough to win a pair that I give away coming up a little bit later on. Miller Lite Carb Day. It is May the 23rd. We cannot wait. I did see this too, and shout out to Tony D. I think you brought this up. Marcus Ericsson is going to be at the Speedway Big Red Liquors. Now, this says Downtown Speedway. Is there one on Main, or is that the one that's on Crawfordsville Road? So you can check that out. Yeah, on there it is right here. Main Street and Speedway. Big Red Liquors, as always, powers the JMV Takeover every Saturday night. Big time with this show as well. Marcus Ericsson will be there at Big Red Liquors coming up later on this evening. Go check him out. Tell him I sent you. From Kurt, JMV, as you guys talk, all I can think about is when Netflix drops the documentary featuring Tyrese Halliburton. The behind-the-scenes stuff is going to be beautiful. It will. Your chance to get on the show, your chance to win some tickets, all coming up in a bit on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. From ESPN and ESPN.com, he is Stephen Holder. What did you think about that effort last night, especially coming on the heels of what was a massive disappointment in Game 3 on Friday night?
Yeah, man, it's interesting. You know, we say in football, right, that defense travels. I think it's true in basketball too. I'm getting to a point, so bear with me. You know, so when you're an offensive team like they are, they're definitely all about putting the ball in the basket, right? And you're gonna have some ups and downs, and I think it will ebb and flow a little bit, just because offense is less reliable than defense, right? But when they are on, they are really on, okay? And there's nobody that puts the ball in the hoop better than them. And, you know, just to be very, very.
Sounds like we lost Stephen Holder right there. Normally I give them a little bit of an opportunity and a delay, but that sounds like a disconnection right there. And as Stephen was talking about that, I should mention this. Our good friend Brian Kelly, the Brick Shirt House as well. They put together another Carb Day JMV T-shirt spectacular. And the Carb Day tees will be available in Broad Ripple on the 15th. The Broad Ripple location of the shop on the 15th. And then again on Carb Day at IMS at their merchandise trailer. It is an annual event with the JMV Sucks Shop T-shirt. Rock it with pride, my friends. The 15th, again, the Broad Ripple location of the shop, and then you can get them on Carb Day out at IMS. Hey, rock those things with pride. I want to see them. Back to Stephen Holder on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Sorry about that. We missed a lot of your point because all of a sudden you were no longer there. Continue.
I don't know. Brand new iPhone, and look at that.
Oh, man.
Anyhow, I don't know how much you heard, but all I was saying was that, look, I mean, when you're a team that lives and dies with your offense, and an offense can ebb and flow, you know, you're going to have some ups and downs from game to game, and that's just what they are. But when they are on, they are really, really on, and nobody can light up the scoreboard better than this team. So that's their thing, man. I mean, that's what you've got to deal with that when you go play these guys, and it puts a lot of pressure on the opponent, you know, to keep pace and know that you've got to not only keep pace literally up and down the floor, but on the scoreboard, right? So it does put a lot of pressure on you, man. And so even when they have maybe not their best defensive night, and they had one last night, but even when they don't, they break all the rules because they can just outscore people, right? That's not supposed to work. It's not supposed to work, right? It just flat out isn't. Not in the playoffs, but they are doing it, and they are breaking the mold a little bit, and I kind of love it.
Well, when their offense is better, their defense is better. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
right. It's funny. I played a clip from Patrick Beverley, of all people, on his podcast over the weekend, and I had thought about this before because it seems like the Pacers end up playing teams, and now it's Donovan Mitchell, that have injury concerns. And Patrick Beverley brought up the fact that it is their style of play. He described them as the most physical team in the NBA. And not because they're a reincarnation of the 1994 New York Knicks and you got Mason and Oakley and that group. No, it's because of their pace of play, their style of play. They get after your ass on both ends, 94 feet, and it wears you, in Beverley's words, to the bone. And that's when you have a little bit of no longer want to kind of creep in. And then it also gets you dinged up because everybody wants to play that style, Steven. Just not everybody is equipped to play in that fashion, as we've seen.
I love that point. I've not thought of that before, but I love that point. Maybe there's something to that because guys start dropping like flies when they play the Pacers in the postseason. Okay? And I don't know how we can prove it, but I don't know, man. He might have a believer in me because I'm just telling you that makes a lot of sense. I will say, whatever the truth is, it is absolutely clear that not everybody is equipped to play the way the Pacers want to play, and they have found something there that they have unlocked. And again, like I said, this is not supposed to work in the playoffs. It's just not. You're not supposed to get up and down and push the pace like this. You're supposed to play a half-court game, and things slow down. You rely on defense. I mean, we've seen a couple of games in the Western Conference lately under 100 points, like both teams, And here are the Pacers doing the complete opposite on the other end of the spectrum, and it's working. And I tell you, it's not only fun, but it's effective right now.
I have actually – I talked to James Boyd a couple minutes ago. I want him to ask Rick Carlisle, who's on their show every Tuesday in the morning, about how they condition, because clearly they're a lot different. They come up with injuries as well, but to be able to not just sustain this level of play, but thrive in it. And I think it is even more profound this time of year, Stephen, and here's why. It's because in the NBA postseason, you have more time during timeouts. And you can see by the substitution patterns. I mentioned this to James. Last night it felt like Tyrese Halliburton didn't play for an hour in actual clock time. Like Miles didn't play for an hour. And you take advantage of that. Thus, at the end of the game, your guys are fresh and good to go. And clearly we have witnessed where others on the opposition sometimes, if not most of the time, are not.
Yeah, that's a good point. You definitely have more time. They end up reviewing a lot of things, certainly, and they take their time with that. I would say the other obvious thing that goes hand in hand with that is depth. I mean, they have the depth to do it, and there are teams out there that just don't have enough depth to do it. In fact, most teams shorten the rotation in the postseason, right? I mean, you start playing, 8 guys tops in a lot of teams, at least in terms of the major minutes, right? And here the Pacers are like, no, we're just going to play everybody like we always do. And it's because they have guys they trust, and they can do that. And that enables them to continue to push that pace and get Halliburton that rest, for example, because of the way he has to, sort of be that energizer bunny and power that whole thing and the pace they want to play. So it is a function of the construction of their team, the talent of their team, the individual talent, the depth. It's really a lot of things, I think, that enable them to play the way they have.
It's Stephen Holder of ESPN. ESPN.com covers the Colts, but we did start with some Pacer conversation again. Game 5 tomorrow night in Cleveland. 3-1 Pacers up in their Eastern Conference semifinal best-of-7 series and a chance to close. Stephen, do you want to add something here?
No, I mean, I think
I thought I heard you squeak. I thought you were wanting to add something right there, because I did want to ask you a Colts question here.
Go ahead.
Because normally when you get a player in the NFL that shoots a statement to Adam Schefter, there is some reason behind it, and Trey Hendrickson has done that today. And I'm curious how much he might be an option, and does that magnify, how should I put this, his optionality with interest from the Colts with that statement he put out there to Adam Schefter earlier today?
Well, what I would say is that it's very clear. One thing is clear. We don't know this. Let me start with what we don't know yet. We don't know about the Bengals' willingness to deal him. We still don't know about that, right? We also don't know whether the Colts can accommodate the salary, okay? But in terms of his position, the player, I mean, he would welcome a change. It is very clear at this point, right? He's working it. He is trying to massage the situation and to create the outcome that he wants. That is very clear. Now, those other two issues are really big issues, though. You know, are the Bengals willing to work to get a resolution to maybe get him somewhere else if he does indeed want to move? And by that, I mean, are they willing to negotiate in good faith and have a reasonable expectation of what they would get in terms of the trade compensation? Because originally, in terms of what they were, what they were sort of messaging to the rest of the league, it wasn't going to work for most teams, right? I mean, a first-round pick is a non-starter. No one's going to do it. Now, we're after the draft, so you're talking about now 2026 picks, but even then, I still don't think it matters, right? No one's dealing a first-round pick for, 32, I think? So that's like giving up a first-round pick for DeForest Buckner right now. I love the guy, but I don't think you're doing that, right? Not at 31. So that's the issue. That's the first issue. And then the second issue, again, is also a big one. The Colts, their salary cap's gotten tighter, right? They have done some things this offseason. They have room, but not that kind of room to comfortably accommodate that salary, that whatever that salary would end up being, because he's going to want an extension. So that would require other moves. I don't know what those moves would be, but it would require other moves, whether it's restructuring, whether it's cuts, a trade or two. I don't know, but they'd have to get creative and have to figure out a way to sort of shoehorn that deal in. I don't think the Colts are inclined to do that. That's just me talking. But well, if the trade compensation came down enough, it sometimes gets to a point where maybe you have to start thinking about ways to pull it off. And I don't know that we're there yet, but there may come a time when they hit that sweet spot.
Well, I will say this, in having his former defensive coordinator, I'm assuming here on board, probably doesn't hurt the situation at all, right? So
you would not think so. Yeah. That is for sure. And I say this, if there is any willingness on the Colts' part to really take this seriously, I'm not saying there is, but if and when that happens, Lou Anarumo, from everything that I can tell, has had a big impact on how they have governed themselves this offseason. That is pretty clear to me. I mean, the free agent pickups, I think that was clear, right? That was driven by him. I think some of their draft decisions, right? Why did they not, for example, target linebacker? That was really a function of what Lou Anarumo said he wants to do. He's emphasizing the back end. He's sort of de-emphasizing linebacker. So that was really something where he led the charge in terms of that decision making. I would also say that this selection of Wally in I think the third round. I mean, that was pretty high. We didn't anticipate a cornerback going there, right? That and the way he sees that player, to me, it feels like that was driven in part, at least, if not mostly, by Lou Anarumo. Chris Ballard's really high on him too, to be clear. But I'm just saying, getting that defensive guy there at a position maybe we didn't prioritize on the outside looking in, the fact that they did it there and it was a little surprising, I think speaks to, again, the defensive coordinator having more influence. So that's at least something that makes an argument for this becoming more likely than less likely.
Yes, Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Have a fantastic week, and we shall catch up with you next week and see what we're doing as far as the Pacers and obviously the Colts are concerned. Stephen, thank you.
All right, might be getting ready for another series.
Yeah, hopefully so. Stephen, thank you.
All right, take it easy.
Stephen Holder right there. And I have to admit, when he said Wally, I didn't immediately think of draft selection Justin Wally. I thought of 3 Wallies. You ready? Wally Cleaver, Tony Dow, Leave It to Beaver, no longer with us. Wally Chambers, because back when Sears made the NFL merchandise, I had and this is before Peyton, Wally Chambers was number 60 for the Bears. Wally Chambers, number 60. I had that. And Wally Backman, former Major League player, most significantly with the Mets, 1986 World Series champion second baseman, and oftentimes also a skipper in baseball, if not Major League Baseball. 3 Wallies. And not even so much Wally Gator, who was a cartoon character. 3 Wallies. Justin Wally, that was the reference Stephen Holder made right there. Hey, you and I on the other side, why Felix Rosenqvist is going to win the greatest spectacle in racing and why Ed Carpenter is relieved I say that going into qualifying weekend out at IMS. We'll do that and more on the Pacers at 239-1070. As of right now, if Eddie Gill gets in here around about 5:30, a lot of time carved out for you and your reaction, and Carb Day tickets to win coming up as well. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Yeah, but they were all bad.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Let's get back here. I got Carb Day tickets. I got 5 o'clock hour, which is fairly naked. So time for you, Jonah. Jonah was a little bit pissy inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. So, Jonah, I'll tell you what. We'll take a break, get right with the clock, and leave you plenty of time on the other side not to be pissy and to be incredibly happy. In fact, I've got time for all of you at 239-1070 coming up next. And a shout-out to the voice of the Pacers, Chris Denary, who gave me Wally Levitt. Wally Levitt, who used to run Artistic Media Partners and the IMS Radio Network, who lives in Speedway. Just saw him less than a month ago. Love Wally Levitt. And Daenerys mowing his yard right now, everybody. Go watch. Daenerys mowing his yard. All right, I got full-scale conversation with you on the other side. We're going to lead with Jonah because I can't leave anybody pissy. That and your chance to win Carb Day tickets. Lock and load, 5 o'clock hour. Eddie Gill also coming up. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
There's been a little problem in the cockpit.
The cockpit? What is it?
It's the little room in the front of the plane where the pilots sit. But that's not important right now.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Pacers have 4 seconds to score one more time. Here comes Neesmith. He'll get it off from the wing, and of course he hit it! Of course he hit it! As the bench empties!
Sweet baby.
Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill. Hopefully Eddie gets here at the bottom of the hour on a flight to Cleveland. Got a couple of playoff games tonight, Celtics and the Knicks, with the Knicks still up 2-1 best of 7. Celtics all over NY at Madison Square Garden on Saturday afternoon, 7:30. The tip for that tonight, Timberwolves and Warriors with Minnesota up 2-1 best of 7. Still no Steph Curry. That is a 10 o'clock gathering from San Francisco. Out west coming up later on tonight. Pacers a 129-109 Game 4 winner, 3-1. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock tip time, 6:30 coverage begins with a potential closeout opportunity. Actually, it's not a potential opportunity, but a potential closeout will be before them in Cleveland tomorrow night. Donovan Mitchell, game-time decision, according to the Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, I think, said after the game last night that he'll be ready to go. We'll see if there's any gamesmanship, any sandbagging going on. Alex Palou, Grand Prix over the weekend. Felix Rosenqvist is going to be riding around for Meyershank Racing, rocking Creed livery, the band Creed. So we're definitely going to get on that coming up a little bit later on, too. Meantime, 239-1070 is the number. We are rocking this. Jonah here on line 3. Jonah, I hear that you were pissy a little bit earlier. Is that true?
I was a little bit, but you know what? We're all human, and we all have our moments.
Man.
I'm doing well, JMV.
You know that I'm always working for you out there. So there's no reason to be pissy. None at all.
I'm happy.
Go ahead,
I'm a
brother.
happy man.
Go ahead.
You know what? The Pacers make you a happy man indeed. And I wanted to add on that I didn't really hear anyone talk about this. And what I like to see from Halliburton in the first quarter, it wasn't his scoring or attacking the basket or his facilitating. I really thought he set the tone in the first quarter by getting what seemed like 4 or 5 rebounds early on. And the Pacers were really attacking the glass and preventing second chance points from the Cavaliers, like the Cavaliers the first game, or in Game 3, where they got all the offensive rebounds and really put the Pacers in a hole. Now the Pacers are like, you know what, it's our turn. We're going to crash the glass, and that's really why they extended that lead like they did. And I really like to see that in Game 5 as well and put these guys away. Because I think best case scenario, the Pacers win Game 5, and then the Celtics and Knicks, I would love to see to go to Game 7. Because this team, if they're not going to be worn out before they play the Pacers, they will be afterwards, assuming we advance.
Yeah, it is going to be so difficult to do that in Cleveland tomorrow night. I mean, just because of everything that goes along with it, but Cleveland hasn't won a home game against the Pacers in this series yet. So I think that magnifies the situation, and it will take an incredible effort by the Pacers to get that done. I think it needs to be more like we saw in game number 1, too. Game number 1 was still the most impressive, I think, start-to-finish game we have seen from the Pacers, maybe even this season. So I hope that we get something along the lines of that performance tomorrow night.
I agree. And another thing I wanted to mention, you're right when it came to Miles Turner defending getting a technical foul. Do you remember when they went to the monitor to check if there was a flagrant, like on Strus or whatever? It was very weak, but I was thinking to myself, if they somehow make that a flagrant foul, doesn't a technical and a flagrant result in the ejection, or is that more of the rest?
Well, I mean, listen, you get 2 technicals and you're tossed, and I just thought, that you put your teammates, in this case Miles Turner, in a bad spot. I like the dog and Matherin, just not with that in mind. And it's bad enough you take yourself out of the equation, but when Miles gets teed up in coming into his defense, I mean, who knows who knows how they're going to view anything, for one. But who knows what happens later on in the game if it gets tangled up and they hand out double technicals, like it's candy this time of year because they don't want to jack with stuff. So he gets a double technical and gets tossed because of that. Yeah, that's not good business right there. So Matherin has to be smarter than what that was last night. It just didn't cost the Pacers. You don't want to see him put in a situation where it might further down the road.
And he had his hands up. He knew what he did. He had his hands up. He's like, come at me. And I just, you got to be a little bit more mature than that. Now, however, I was upset when they didn't eject Hunter, but thinking about it, he was a non-factor. And I really think that thumb on a shooting hand, he's only made 2 field goals this entire series. And he only made a couple free throws. And I felt like he's hurting the team more than he's helped. At least that's what I saw, because he went 2 for 10 the last 2 games. And I just think with the sprained thumb, I'm like, how effective can your shooting be, especially from distance? So,
Yep.
But yeah, it's good talking to you, JMV, and I appreciate
Jonah,
that.
it's good to have you back on here, buddy. Keep coming. Keep calling, and
you.
make sure you come out and join us as a part of a show, because we got a lot of stuff happening later on this month. Good to hear from you, Jonah. In fact, Greenwood, Twin Peaks coming up on Friday, and Speedway for a tavern tour stop with Heaven Hill Distillery a week from Thursday. Dawson's on Main, and then you all know about what's going to take place on race weekend. At Bronze Funtime Campers, that's Austin on Pendleton Pike. Ask for Austin. They are going to house me, us, my JMV Takeover show, going from Carb Day all the way through Monday out at IMS. Actually, in the Coke lot, I should say. Yeah, make sure you find a way to get a Coke lot wristband. And I mentioned this on Thursday. I called Doug Bowles, and I requested 1,000. And it's true. I said 1,000. I need a box full of Coke lot wristbands. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what we need. And thanks to Austin, Bronze Funtime Campers, for providing the RV for this show. And what is going to be a spectacular weekend. We are almost there. Yeah, the livery for Felix Rosenquist is awesome. Creed, the band. The video they put together is awesome as well. I would advise you to check that out. JMV, at age 55, do you ever get worn out at trying to act like you're 25? No, Sam, no. I'll have plenty of time to be worn out on acting like I'm 25 when I'm dead, okay? While I'm here, I'm going to have some fun. That's the way that it is. You handle it the way you want to handle it. I'm going to handle it my way. And while I'm here, we're going to have fun. I'm not jacking around with people. If you're going to sap energy, then you're not hanging around with me, Sam. The way that it is. The way that it's always going to be. I don't know if it's the way that it should be. Hell, I don't know if this is the blueprint for success to anything, but it's my blueprint to have some fun because I'm not jacking around with people that sap the energy. If you are an energy sucker, we are not hanging. BT says, how much do you think Miles will get per year when the season ends? Anyways, there was zero way that they were, BT, going to let him get away. And now it's even more magnified. And as I put it, I like this team so much, and I have said that. And I don't know if Steven Simon listens. He should, because we know basketball and talk about his team all the time. So it would be logical that he should and would. That I don't want to hear any excuses about, well, we got to do this and the luxury tax that and the threshold and the layers. You see what you have right now, right? I understand improving it. Why would you want to jack with it? I mean, you play a style that is conducive to winning. You play a style that has been successful, certainly in the last 2 years where we are right now. And again, there's going to be evaluation time after the season, and maybe things will change from where I sit right now and how I utilize my thought on this particular team and its makeup. But I sure as hell don't want to hear any excuses about money or lack thereof and luxury tax layers and all that nerd crap, all right? I want to see guys go out that fit this team and play well for this team and then give back to the fan base the investment you made when you went to games and people described those games as entertaining losses. The dorks can hang with that. I want to see this team continue to go, especially in the fashion that is very unusual in the NBA. What did we hear earlier today? Giannis is looking for another elite-level player to play with to take the burden off. Got to take the burden off. Got an elite-level player. The Pacers have an elite-level team. God, in this state, you can't be more money than that in this state. You get taught, you slide out of the birth canal, and that's what you're taught. Team basketball, team this, defense or D-bench, there's no I in team, all that bull crap, the pyramid of success, all of it. In reference to what? Team basketball. And the NBA has always been, and I've always loved the NBA, but the NBA has always been described about what? Not being team basketball. Some of you think you're going to gravitate to collegiate basketball because it's more team-oriented. There's nothing more team-oriented than what you see with this group. So if the success keeps coming, then pay him. Pay him to retain him. I don't want to hear any other stuff, at least right now. And again, we could change. We'll see what happens with the way that the rest of the postseason goes. We'll reevaluate at a different time. But as I sit here right now, I don't want to hear a damn excuse about anything financial or luxury taxes or any of that, because you guys sat through a bunch of crap for a number of years. This is what it's supposed to be like for winning franchises. Hey, the Colts recognize that right now, don't they? Remember what it used to be like? You know what it is now? Enough said. Yeah, I know. Officer Crowd, I cannot hang around a fun sponge. Or am I the fun sponge? Sam, the fun sponge is jealous. Am I the fun? Like I am. I don't zap the fun from people though. I guess that's different. Now, there's a reason why I want to act. I want to play. I want to hoop. I want to do all the stuff. And I want to do it for the remainder of my existence. I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with it. Hey, Officer Craig, I think Sam, if he were introduced personally to this, I think Sam would end up siding with me on it. All right, where are we going here next? Kelly's been on line one. Kelly, jump on here. How are you?
Hey, JMV, how are you?
Kelly, I'm outstanding. Thank you for asking.
Great. So I'm actually in Nashville, Tennessee right now, and I listen to you every day. I'm a Hoosier transplant, and I'm from a little town called Shoals, Indiana. You ever heard of it?
That's where the Jug Rocks are. You know, I scored in November of 1987. I put up 23 against the Jug Rocks in an early season win for the Eastern Thunderbirds.
Yep, we have never won anything at all. And we have one of the strangest mascots in all of
yeah, it's a rock. It's a rock out in the woods, right?
That's right.
Yeah, the Jug Rocks. Right. I actually love Shoals. There's a place called Velma's, and there's also a drive-in down there. I like Shoals a great deal. Been a big fan. And normally you have to take some Alka-Seltzer if you're driving to Bedford, because you're going to ride a roller coaster on US 50 once you get out of Shoals and go eastbound on US 50. So yeah,
that's right.
That was always,
right.
I thought that was a Shoals advantage because all the teams that used to have to drive in, you'd be on the bus and everybody would be getting bus sick by the time you got to the game. I always thought that was going to be an advantage for Shoals.
So I'm calling you because what I think this team reminds me of is the early Reggie Miller teams with Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, Smith, the players now that the kids are going to remember are the players that I remember because I'm in the 40s now, are the Reggie Miller teams. I equate the two teams. So the young kids are going to remember, they're going to remember Halliburton. They're going to remember Siakam. They're going to remember, Matherin. They're going to remember Nemhart.
Right, and
just like I
success.
remember
The
day
fabric of
before.
what you're describing is success. No matter, because that was a different era, certainly. And they had a level of success. You see the success right now. So I think that's the interwoven fabric of what you're trying to describe. Is just a level of success. I've often said this. I loved those teams in the 90s. This may be my favorite team of all time anywhere. I like these guys. I love their style of play. I love how they're put together. And I think they're really good dudes in general. There's a lot to really embrace about this team.
And they're not selfish. They're not selfish.
Well, I mean, it's a team. We all learn that. And in this state, I think you would know that more than anybody else would. That's how it is viewed. People have always said, I don't like the NBA because it's not a team concept. There's no greater team concept than what you see with winning involved with this team right now.
Yep.
What else you got, Shoals, Indiana?
Hey, everybody, we constantly get beat by Lagodi every year. We've beat them twice in like the last 50 years.
Yeah. Well, they had to go out and hire a new coach now, Josh Thompson. How about that? Yep. Now, how did the people in Montgomery feel when you go from Bar Reeve to Lagodi? I know he was a former assistant of Lagodi, but that probably doesn't play very well in Montgomery, Indiana, does it? Going from Bar Reeve to Lagodi?
It doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't play well, but that's the big rival down there when you have Bar Reeve, North Davis, Lagodi.
Yep.
That's a big triangle.
What's funny about that, it would take, like Josh Thompson is from Bloomfield in Greene County, it would take somebody with the nads the size of Greene County to do something like that, to go from Bar Reeve to Lagodi. Yep. I mean, you have to have a huge set to do that, and obviously being born and bred from Greene County has, giving him that opportunity with that sack to do just that. Well done.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Nashville, Tennessee. You call it again, Kelly. Thank you very much, and shout out to Shoals.
Thank you, bud. All right, bye.
Yeah. I think I held the record for like 5 seconds. I had like 5 or 6 three-pointers. But I think a guy in Churubusco in 1987 broke that. His name was Jeff Perlich or Perlich. I brought him up before. His last name is Perlich, and he played at East Carolina collegiately. And he may have been an Indiana All-Star. But I think I think I held, because that was the first year of three-pointers. Mm-hmm. And I think I held that record for like 5 minutes because of Shoals and the Jug Rocks. I love them. And then lost it and never was heard from again. Jeff Perlich or Perlich. Churubusco is where he is from. And I'm sure I probably butchered the pronunciation on everything right there. Frank's on line 3. Frank, join the show. How are you, sir?
JMV, I'm doing great. Go Pacers, and I just wanted to give you a huge compliment. I worked at Marion University, and you were at the Clayton event.
I was.
A couple weeks ago. And that was your first time being an MC. Man, you knocked it out of the park, dude.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. I think part of it, though, Frank, and thank you very much for the compliment. I think part of it is that you and others understand what you're dealing with. So the expectations are probably a little bit lowered because you know what you're dealing with right here. So, but I really enjoyed it. So what a great school. And the Clayton family's awesome. And I got to hang out with my good friend Alex Sylvester and Adam Weezy there, and now I'll make them feel bad when they don't play pickup basketball with us. So it was a hell of a time. It was.
Yeah, you played with those guys at St. Luke.
Yeah, I played with, I played with, actually, I think they're playing tonight. Sylvester and, John Licklider, I think, is the one that puts it together, John Licklider. And I think Matt Howard at Butler played the last time I was there, and he was just a little bit still very good. So just a little bit.
Just one last thing. The guy that told us to bring you to the MC position was Doug Bowles.
Yes. Yeah, and, yes. Well, you know what? And he was honored that night, and it was awesome. There is no greater human, no harder worker, nobody that is better at his job and certainly more perfect for a job than he is for doing what he does as the president of IndyCar and IMS. Nobody better. And it was an awesome night. I got to thank you, Frank, for the compliment, and those over at Marion for the invite. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Go for it, buddy. God bless you.
Right back at you, Frank. Frank's awesome. That was a great time. The Clayton family's great. But see, now, and I feel bad because Sylvester texted me earlier and said they're playing at St. Luke's tonight. I don't think I can make – this is like the first time I've turned any pickup games down in forever. And I don't feel right about it. But, man, what a great group that is at St. Luke's. Shout out to John Licklider for opening up, too. But you can tell all these dudes have played on some level. I think mostly D2 because they're calling it, their lingo on the floor is completely different than what your normal pickup game is. I mean, they're calling out different. I mean, first of all, when you play in a game and somebody calls out a screen, it's like a miracle in general. Great bunch of dudes, though. And Marion University was a great time. Hey, can I get T-Mobile Ray on really quick here, James? Line 4 is T-Mobile Ray. Hey, Ray, my bill is way my bill is way too damn high. Can you help?
John, we've been around this corner for about going on 2 years now.
I know it almost comes across as me begging now, Ray. I feel bad about it.
Yeah, but we all do what we can to help out our friends.
I know you do, brother. Go ahead, man. That's not why you called, though. Go ahead.
No, it's not. Well, the reason why I called, John, is because I'm jubilated right now. When people talk about the state, I love Indiana, John, and I tell people that all the time. But when they bring up Indiana, you know what they always point to? They always point to St. Elmo's, and Indiana's the home of just the cornfields and things like that. They say what's out in Indiana, and I'm just happy that the Pacers are putting a spotlight on this city, on this town, on this state. I love Indiana to death, man. I'll die for Indiana. But that's just my passion and all things Indiana.
I mean, basketball, I mean, you and I are both big-time basketball enthusiasts. There's no doubt about that. This Pacer team is such a great description of what Indiana basketball historically, what we have been told, how we've been coached, how people want to watch it, how people love it. It's the whole team concept of it. And this Pacer team is just one of the best descriptions that we have had, especially at the NBA level. Just with that in mind, it is truly a team concept that sometimes, can be somewhat of a lost art in this world of, 2 and 3 or multi-superstars on one team.
Absolutely.
What else you got, Ray?
And you know what, John? Let me do this because I could talk about how we pulled the Cavaliers' pants down last night and laid them across our lap, and made them scream "Daddy." I could get on here and talk about that, but I want to extend an apology out to Rick Carlisle and Miles Turner. I've always said, Rick Carlisle isn't the coach to bring a city this championship. I was completely 100% wrong. Rick Carlisle is doing an amazing job this playoff run. So I want to give him kudos, and I want to take it back about the words that I said about him at one point. And also with Miles Turner, I've been on this show, John, and talked about Miles until I was blue in the face and, get him out of town and, he's not it. We need a traditional big, a guy can add some rebounding and rim protection at a better level. So Miles has been great as well. So I want to give an apology out to those guys, man. I was completely wrong about those two, and I'm a man, so I'll admit it.
There you go. Man, Ray,
happy.
That's why we love you here, man. And not just the fact that you can trim the bill that is ridiculous for T-Mobile for me, but because you are a dude. That's what dudes do right there. Well done.
No problem. Thank you, John.
You got it.
You still owe me a cheeseburger, John.
Well, I know, but you got it. Man, I got to pay. My bill's really big. Can we, I don't even want to put the scratcher back and I'll scratch mine. That sounds really weird. But you know what I mean? Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah, I still owe you. And if you join me out sometime, I'll pick you up. You know that. Ray's gone. My bill is ridiculous. Although I will say this, not as bad as DirecTV. And I have an old-ass phone. Quick break, we'll come back. JT says you have a little something giving you a hoarse voice the last week or so. I have no idea what this is. I have speculated that maybe I'm going through puberty again. I have no idea. And it was really bad on Saturday night. James, is it possible for a dude to go through puberty twice? Or anybody to?
We might be finding out right now.
Yeah, I may be going through puberty again. Yeah, Steve Simon, if somebody can get Steve Simon on the show, I'd love to do it because I do want to present the idea of I don't want to hear anything about luxury tax crap. Think you'd respond to that? Yes, I'm sure you'd be thrilled. Quick one, we'll come back. Don't go anywhere. Carb Day tickets to give away as well. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
David Letterman! Hi, David. I'm Grandpa.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Toppin back to Shepard. They'll work the perimeter. Only 4 seconds to shoot. Siakam hasn't missed a shot yet. This time, though, his shot from the top of the circle is short. Tipped and kept alive over on the far side by Shepard. Ball in the hands of Nembhard. Pacers get another look. Toppin drives the right baseline. Up and under, using that extraordinarily long right arm to angle it off the glass as he floated under the hoop.
I believe it was 1980. By the way, Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill. Pacers Radio on the Fan. Game 5 tomorrow night. 7 o'clock tip. 6:30 coverage begins with Pat Boylan right here. But was it 1980 when Dr. J made a similar move? I believe they brought it up on the TNT broadcast last night. And it was that move, the swooping underneath the basket against the Lakers. I believe that was 1980. And that was brought up on the broadcast as being very reminiscent. Now, nothing's ever going to be like that. I mean, hell, that's Dr. J. But what a great move. And Obi Toppin, much to the thrill of my mother, was very good off the bench. Now, very good's probably an understatement. 9 of 14, 20 points, 5 rebounds. Impressive. So I mentioned a little bit earlier what the difference is one, Mark Monteith has had this particular stat that he utilized a couple of weeks ago. If you remember, after that disappointing loss with the Bucks, the Pacers always respond with a double-digit disappointing loss. And they did once again last night after Friday night in game number 3. And the better their offense, the better their defense. And they put up 42, and that's what everybody is talking about in the second quarter. And Miles on a heat check. Miles knocked down the heat check. You rarely, if ever, see that. But look at the 16 points in the second quarter for the Cavaliers. There's the impression. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, the former NBA player, the guard from Pacer Radio, and when Pacer TV is doing, and he's a part of that as well, staked out in Cleveland. For game number 5, he is Eddie Gill. Hello, Eddie. How are you?
Good. How's everything?
Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I got you now. Yeah, man. Thanks for dropping in.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask you a question. As a former NBA player and obviously doing the analyst work for the Pacers, I saw a podcast with Patrick Beverley, and I've always felt this way too. He had said that the Pacers are the most physical team in the NBA, not because they play like the 94 Knicks in that era, but because they do what they do 94 feet. They pick you up defensively. They push you off a make. They don't give you the opportunity to rest. And he feels or theorizes here that that's one of the reasons why you see so many injuries with teams that they play, because of that brand and that style of play. I happen to have thought about that even prior to him saying that and agree. Do you think that plays a significant role, their pace of play and their style of play, as to why we're always kind of seeing some guys get injured on these other teams the past 2 postseasons?
I think it definitely could be a factor. I definitely agree with the concept for sure, because I think, you got guys like Nembhard, Neesmith, even Pascal Siakam, TJ McConnell, when he gets in the game, all these guys are picking up full court. Whoever their assignment is, they're picking them up full court. They're making them work. They're turning them. They're physical with them. And then on the opposite end of the floor, you have to deal with all the ball movement and player movement. So there's really no time to relax or pretty much sit and watch the game. If you are watching the game, the Pacers are going to score, essentially. So the Pacers are one of the leading teams in terms of passes, just as a team throughout the course of the game. So that's a lot to defend. So certainly there's a tax on your body, and you have to be conditioned for it.
So, and that's a question I also have about how the Pacers keep up that particular pace in conditioning. And the other point that I made, Eddie, at the start of the show was in bad losses like we witnessed on Friday night in Game 3 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, historically this season, the Pacers have had a significantly positive response, and we saw that again last night, didn't we?
Yeah, that's one of the most impressive things about this team is the resiliency that they have. You're going to have bad games or poor play during the course of an 82-game season, and you like to limit those, obviously, once you get into the playoffs because it's a larger, or excuse me, a smaller room for error. But being able to bounce back in a quick way and being able to respond, whether you win or not, which they have done, but also just in their process, they play significantly better than what they did the game before. Is incredibly impressive. They make sure they limit those losing streaks, if you will, to a low number. Just been able to bounce back in a major way, and I mean, no better time to do it than a game 4 on your home floor.
It's Eddie Gill, Pacers Radio in Cleveland, getting ready for Game 5 tomorrow night. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Were you more impressed with the 42 points in the second quarter in the Pacer offense or the 16 points they gave up to Cleveland in the second quarter with their defense?
I'd probably say the 42 points, and I'd usually lean toward the defensive end of the floor because I think that's a bigger differentiator in terms of teams and what their success level will be. But, man, it was how they scored that 42 points and 80 in total. I think I'll throw in the whole half of what they did against Cleveland there. I mean, it was really just laughable almost to see the shot making that was there, and it got to the point where it seemed like they were experimenting to some degree. You think about those threes that Turner hit late in the second quarter.
Hey, when's the last time you saw a heat check go in? He had a heat check go in, Eddie. That's impressive.
Listen, from the hash mark, it was special. I mean, and to be able to see that and then to watch that team walk into that locker room as dejected as they were was incredible.
So Eddie Gill with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. How significantly do you buy a banged-up Donovan Mitchell being a game-time decision tomorrow night? Is there any way that you believe he doesn't give that a go in Game 5 at home?
The short answer is absolutely not. the longer-winded answer is I didn't believe that Darius Garland wouldn't play in Game 1 either. When he was battling the toe issues that he was battling against Miami, he didn't play in the last 2 games of that series. And then he didn't play in Game 1 against the Pacers, which I definitely thought he would play. But even more so in this scenario here, you're down 40 at halftime. I'm not saying that he didn't have some sort of tweak or anything like that, but, you get out there and it's like, hey, what are we doing here? We're not necessarily coming back in this game to win it, so why put it into any more danger, try to get it right, and come back for Game 5.
Yeah, sometimes I kind of wonder, and Ty Jerome's circumstances has certainly hurt them. He's been absolutely awful, but Darius Garland, for as much as they wanted him back out there, and he was, man, he can't guard me right now, and that's detrimental to the program. I mean, that's a fly in the ointment, to say the least, and something that stands out nearly every possession.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned those 2 guys. They're probably the only 2 guys on the roster that don't guard at a really high level and that you can go after. And if Darius Garland is compromised from a health perspective, then you really go after him. And you're right, Ty Jerome has been bottled up offensively and defensively. He's a weak link on that team, so you want to be able to attack him where you can. But yeah, Garland out there, he has got to be someone that you target when you can.
It's funny, man. To me, it appears as soon as the Pacers defensively figured out Jerome's Euro travel, it was over for him. It was done. For confidence and everything.
I've been really impressed with what they've been able to do to him because he took a gigantic step this season. He's been really good for them coming off the bench, really be able to round out their rotation with that bench unit along with DeAndre Hunter and those guys, but he just has not been able to get it done. The Pacers have done a great job of limiting his game.
All right. Now, how can the Pacers, and it'd be tough, I mean, winning 3 road games to beat the best team in the East and the second best team in the NBA over the course of the regular season is going to be incredibly impressive. I want to see, hopefully, more of a mirror as to what we witnessed in game number 1. With this group to try to close it out on the road tomorrow night in Game 5, where does it begin for you with the Pacers, trying to do something that's about as improbable as we would think with this Pacer team?
The stage is set for an amazing closeout game for sure. And I think both in games 1 and games 4 in particular, the Pacers came out with a significant effort on the defensive end, like the physical play. I mean, the contrast between game 3 and game 4 is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's the way the two teams pretty much changed positions in terms of who was the aggressor, who had the hit first mentality, and which team absolutely did not respond pretty much the entire game. I was just waiting for the Cavs to go on some sort of run of their own in game 4, and it just never happened. They just got blitzed in that first half, and, you know, in the second half, you were hoping that it was just running clock at that point. But that's the type of performance. And, again, shot making is going to come and go. That's not what we're talking about here. But I do believe if you play with a certain level of force and energy and effort on defensively and move the basketball, inevitably shots do start to fall because you're so locked in.
Yeah, and, I mean, pace of play is always that so dictates the terms for this team. And it wasn't there, certainly, in game number 3, but it was there last night in game number 4. It's Eddie Gill in Cleveland. Pacers Radio, of course, tomorrow night here on The Fan. 6:30, Pat Boyle, and the coverage begins. That's Pat and Mark and Eddie from Cleveland. 3-1, best of 7 Eastern Conference semifinals, and the Pacers with an opportunity to close it out. And no, thank you for calling in here. We'll give you a little bit more time. We may try to squeeze you in later on this week to give you a little bit more of a time, because I know we're squeezed here today, but I appreciate you jumping on.
It's all good, my man. I appreciate you guys having me.
You got Eddie Gill on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. James, let's take a break. Final time. Get the Bills call. Close out this show on a Monday. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Pay that man his money.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, who wants to go to Carb Day? Hang out with us absolutely free. What do you think here, James? Number 9 at 239-1070, Carb Day, IMS.com to get your tickets now. But hang out with us. Carb Day passes right now. 239-1070. You are a winner. James, give me Bill here on line 5, too. Hello, Bill. How are you, buddy?
JMV, after last night, man, I'm doing great.
Hey, Billy, you're going to hang out at Twin Peaks in Greenwood with us on Friday.
Well, you know, one of my mottos in life is the only thing better than one peak is Twin Peaks.
Exactly.
So I will be there in Greenwood. The last time, the last show that you had there and everything was a lot of fun, and I invite everybody to come to that. And then the Dawson show the week after.
Oh yeah,
is going to be lit up as well.
Yep.
Main Street and in Speedway, one of the hidden jewels of the city. It's going to be a fantastic time. But I have one request.
Sure.
Of the show. Is there any way that you guys can possibly schedule Sophie Cunningham from the Fever to,
I've
to
tried,
be on the show?
Yeah, but nobody there ever gets back with James. True story. It's weird, isn't it?
Well, we can fix that.
We got to fix it. I tell you what, Bill, remind us of that tomorrow too, man. And Friday, Twin Peaks, Greenwood. Okay, buddy?
I'll be there.
All right, thank you, Bill. Yeah, James, you send something to them all the time with no response. Hell, I don't know.
I mean, me and Eddie, I think, have reached out to them and never gotten anything back.
Shout out to Eddie White on the postgame show last night, had both Caitlin Clark and Steve Simon. Hell, I want Steve Simon to call in, too, so I can give him my proposition of how much I like this team and that his money's no object and pay everybody. So I'm sure he'll be really excited about talking that. So, yeah, Sophie Cunningham, if you're listening out there, get your people to call us and set them up. We'd love to do that sometime. James, great job out of you. Back with you tomorrow, and we'll preview game number 5 beginning at 3 o'clock. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have a great night.